bookworms and constant readers. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to talk about Andrzej Sapkowski's Sword of Destiny. This is book 2 in the Witcher series. There are 8 books total, if you're interested. My first video, I had audio-video problems. I recommend you listen to it. Watching it is a pain. I'm thinking about redoing it. But my review is up on that first video with the first book, The Last Wish. This, like I said, is the second book, Sword of Destiny. And this book, I think, was better than the first book. This book, it is a sequel because it does talk about stories from that first book. But it's not a direct sequel. It does not pick up where the first book left off. That's not really a problem. There's six short stories total in this book. But yeah, it's not really a problem because these aren't... The first book was like an introduction to The Witcher, and this book is more stories about The Witcher, and it has more action in it, and it's kind of the same format. You go from story to story, and there's not really a smooth transition between story to stories. Unlike the first one, where you had like an overall main story, and then you had small stories put in as like flashback and dream sequences. This one is not like that. This one, it even has here in the front a table of contents where you can read whatever story that you like. Like I said, there's 6 total. And they really don't have anything to do with each other as far as when one ends, that's the end of the story. And then the next story starts. And I think the books themselves, like, say it best. Like, if you see the cover of The Last Wish, it says Introduction to The Witcher, which it totally is. This one, if you notice, it says Tales of The Witcher, and that's what it is. It's kind of like a collection of stories about The Witcher. But yeah, it doesn't pick up where the first book left off. But it is a sequel because it does take place afterwards, and they mention stories from the first book, and there are stories from the first book that you have to know what happened in those stories to understand what they're talking about in this book. So it is a sequel, but it's not a direct sequel. And I already started reading the next book, The Blood of Elves. And what's confusing about this series, I mentioned it before, is this one is actually numbered number 1 as book 1, and it's actually book 3. Do not read them in numerical order. Read them the way I'm presenting them on this channel. Everything's laid out chronologically. You don't really know until about halfway through book 2 how much time has actually passed from the end of The Last Wish to this book. The stories in this book are told really well. The dialogue definitely drives these stories, just like the first book. They're very dialogue heavy, but it's not bogged down. It doesn't seem like the characters are rambling on about anything. The dialogue is great, especially when it comes to Geralt and Dandelion. the banter they have back and forth is funny at times, it's sad at times, and oftentimes you wonder, how did these two meet? How did they become friends? If you remember from the first book, Geralt tells, I believe it was Yennefer, or no, it was, I can't remember her name, but he tells this other sorceress that he likes his company. That's all we know. That still hasn't been explained, like how they met or anything like that, how they became such good friends. But Dandelion plays a big part in this book. Their back and forth with each other is some of the best dialogue. It's kind of like you're put into a scene and you're just sitting back, kind of eavesdropping on conversations that are going on. And to me, that is a good thing. It makes these books really easy to read. They're fast reads because you want to know, what's going to happen next. Where is all this leading to? And there's not much bad to say about these first two books. My complaints with this book are the same as the first book. With this one, it's kind of understandable, though, because with this book, it is 6 short stories. It's no different than reading like a collection of Stephen King short stories. They're not related. They don't continue on with each other, so it's less forgiving with this book. I can pick up this book and I can read the 3rd story and be done with it. Whereas the first book, they all kind of go together, and it's not until you're 3, 4, 5 pages into the story that you realize that what's going on, that this is like a dream. You're in the past. And the first book had those awkward transitions between stories, where this one story ends, the next one picks up. There's really no transition in between. You do have to read that 3 to 5 pages, get the next story going before you realize kind of how much time has passed and what is going on. And that's what both of these books do. There's not a lot of world building in these books. And I know I've seen other booktubers talk about that's a bad thing. For me, it wasn't. I really don't care how far away we are from another place, or if we're in the north, the south, whatever. He gives you just enough description of where you're at that you can picture it in your mind. You're like dropped into this location, and the story is told through very minimal descriptive writing, and it's mostly dialogue. We learn some more stuff about The Witcher in this book, some good, some bad. We learn that Witchers don't hunt dragons. Geralt is talked into joining a dragon hunt in this one. And that story has a really cool twist at the end. I didn't see it coming. I thought it was awesome. You also learn that a little bit more about what happens when somebody becomes a Witcher. And you learn they go through these trials called the Trial of Grasses, I think, and how dangerous it really is that these Witchers take children from their families, and like 4 out of every 10 pass this trial, and then even less actually pass the physical transformation that they go through from being human to Witcher. And part of that has to do with they get the cat-like eyes. It allows them to see in the dark, and they go through all these other transformations with herbs and potions. to make them stronger, faster. So you learn about that and how dangerous it is, but we still don't know like what is all involved in that process. And just from reading the third book, I'm about 150 pages in, you actually do learn more about that in the third book, and I'll talk about that in the video for that one. But for this book, you learn more about Yennefer and Geralt. You don't really know what has happened, but Yennefer can't stand Geralt anymore. She never really liked him in the first place. It's one character in these books that I don't like personally. I think she's a bitch. I think she looks out for herself and nobody else. She doesn't care about anybody else. She uses people for her own gain. I really don't understand how Geralt, the Witcher, can be friends with somebody like Dandelion and be so enamored with somebody like Yennefer. I don't understand it. I hope we learn more about their story. In this one, you learn that there was another sorcerer who asked Yennefer to marry him, and she said she'd think about it. And while she's sleeping with this dude and seeing this dude, she's doing the same thing to Geralt. And they both find out, they both meet each other, and they're supposed to fight each other to the death, and then whoever survives gets Yennefer. And for some reason, Geralt decides to just leave, and he just ups and leaves, and that's that. And the second half of the book, most of it deals with Ciri. She is introduced in this book, and like the last three stories, I think, deal with her, and they're about her. And you learn all about her past. You learn what connection she has to the Witcher, why their bond is so strong. And like I said, I don't know if this is told through video games or not, because I've never played The Witcher. I've never played The Witcher 2. I've played a little bit of The Witcher 3, maybe like 5, maybe 10 hours of that game. The farthest I ever got in The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt was where you fight the Griffin in that first town that you go to. So that's all I've ever played. So all these stories, all these characters are new to me. Like Dandelion, I never heard of him until the books. I've been told that he is in the game, but the only people I knew about going into this was Geralt the Witcher, his Witcher friend Vesemir, Yennefer, and Ciri. And then there was two other, when you start the Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, I don't remember their names, but there were two other Witchers at Kaer Morhen at the beginning of the game. I think they die at the beginning of the game. During that whole cutscene where they freeze Ciri and the Wild Hunt shows up. I think it was a dream sequence that Geralt had. So yeah, all this is new to me, so I don't know any of this. I don't know if it's explained in the games or not. I'm just waiting for the books to reveal what they reveal. I haven't watched the Netflix series yet. I plan on it. I heard since I've read the two short story books that I should watch it, because a lot of that stuff is in the series, so I might give it a go and see how I like it. But yeah, the second half, it's mostly about Ciri. We learn about the elves a little bit. We learn that Geralt has had dealings with them in the past. They call him the White Wolf. We've also learned that he's never harmed the elves. He actually stands up for them. He's even protected them, saved their lives. They don't necessarily like him, but they don't fear him, and I wouldn't say they consider him a friend. He's like tolerable to them. And we also learn that their race is very similar to The Witcher. They're kind of living on borrowed time. Man is taking over the forest, driving them out. They're not liked among men, and they are having a really tough time sustaining their race because they're not producing offspring. So they're stealing human children, and they make them drink this water, and it like erases these child's memories, and then they kind of turn this child into like a human elf like hybrid. It's kind of disturbing when you read like what all it entails, and then you learn about the Witchers kind of do the same thing, and it's just like, whoa, what the hell is going on in this world? But the Witchers, they're like a dying breed also. They're kind of living on borrowed time. There's only so many monsters to hunt in the world, and work is becoming harder and harder to find. And that's one thing that Geralt and Dandelion deal with in this book, is trying to find money, to get money to live, to eat. And Geralt is like, taking any job he can, just to feed them, basically. But yeah, the last half of the book, I really can't say much about it because I don't want to ruin it for you, because the story of Geralt and Ciri, it's kind of sad, and there's surprises in there. When I read it, I was like, oh my god, I cannot believe this. So yeah, I don't have anything bad to say really about these first two books. They're really awesome reads. I haven't been in the fantasy reading the fantasy genre for a long time, and I feel like these books are a good entry back into it. They're easy to read. They're fast reads. They're not very thick like the next series I plan on reading, the Brandon Sanderson and the Stormlight Archives. This is unbelievably thick, and they just get thicker as they go along. So these are short little reads. With my homework and everything, I read, if I'm lucky, 2 hours a day. And I'm reading 2 books, so I devote 1 hour to one book, 1 hour to the other book. The other book I'm reading won't be on the channel, and that's Black House by Stephen King and Peter Straub. It'll be on the channel sometime, just not when I've done reading it, because I'm trying to finish my read-through of Stephen King's books. But yeah, it takes me maybe 3 or 4 days to read one of these Witcher books. So, like this one, I finished like 3 days ago, and I've been so busy with homework that I'm just now doing the video. And This third book, I'm really anxious to see how Sapkowski does with writing a novel, because he's really good at writing short stories, and I'm curious to see how he is at writing a novel. So far, like I'm 150 pages in, and it's really good. The chapters are super long. They're like 50 plus pages long per chapter. So I'm only like 3 chapters in, and I'm like almost halfway through the book. And when you only have a limited time to read, long chapters suck. But definitely recommend the first 2. The third one seems to be just as good as these first 2. Complaint still, this cover, this stupid Netflix thing, can't take it off. Why publishers do this, I don't know. It ruins the cover, I think. That's one thing. The covers, they really have nothing to do with the books, honestly. The first cover was Geralt fighting a dragon. That never happened. In this one, he's standing over a dead body. Got people surrounding him. That never happened. So I don't know what's up with the covers. Not having to do with the story, but highly recommend it. Definitely like 4.5, maybe like 4.8 out of 5. This book was super fun, super fast, a lot of action. You learn a lot about the characters, a lot about their past. If you're looking to get into fantasy, definitely check these out. I totally enjoy them. Everybody tells me that wait till I get to like book, I think it's 5, that then the series just tanks. You know, we'll see. I'll be there in a few weeks. But definitely recommend them. I enjoy them. That's really all I got for you today, guys. Till the next video, hit the like button if you like this video. Subscribe. Hit the bell button for my next video. Next video should be out probably in a few days. It'll be my update video. Just what's going on with me, what's going on with the channel. I'll probably film it on Friday. Post it on like Saturday or Sunday. I'm really not on a schedule because I don't have a lot of subscribers. I think I got 4 subscribers and 3 are family. So once I start getting subscribers, I'll get on a schedule, and we'll have a video like every Monday or every Friday. Till then, read more books.